made sense for a traveling seamstress, but less so for a warrior.
"I can show you my clothes if you like and explain what it means," she continued.
"Your clothes?"
"These, if you like, or I have others in the back. You would know that if you didn't always sleep on the ground outside. If you were traveling closer to Ringold, I could show you where I get all my fabrics, and you'd see exactly what I'm talking about."
Skharr shook his head. "Destination is Skepsis. Won't travel alone when possible. Better to travel with company."
She laughed and brushed the long, thick curls from her face. "Well, I always have the company of my horses. They don't seem to mind my stories and my ideas on clothing and fashion. Of course, it's always more interesting when someone talks in response, but I'm not too fussy about that. You never did say why you were heading out of the capital city, of course, but that's fine."
Eitreya truly didn't need his help to keep the conversation going, as she had proven often during the time they had spent together. It had been fortuitous for him when he'd left the capital and found someone who was traveling in more or less the same direction that he was headed. He couldn't help but enjoy the company himself, and from what he could tell, Horse rather enjoyed it as well. Of course, that was likely because of the added company of the two mares that drew Eitreya's wagon.
"We do find along the way that most of the civilizations have a few good ideas when it comes to their clothing, but they hold on to the bad ideas as well."
She pulled a dried piece of fruit from a pouch at her side and chewed it pensively.
"Even the drow have a few good ideas, but they tend to choose the colors that fade into the hues of the trees, and I don't like those. Even the horses all have their preferences."
He looked at Horse, who snorted and shook his mane.
"See? Your horse knows what I mean. He wants his coat fresh and gleaming. What is his name again?"
It wasn't the first time she had asked, and it wouldn't be the last time he explained it either. "Horse."
"Yes, the horse. What is his name?"
"Horse is his name."
"Interesting. And easy to remember, I suppose. Horses are noble creatures, and therefore the name is noble, although I've heard that the elves have a word for horses, Roksa, or Roko. I can't remember which one means horses. Oh, and the dwarf word for the beasts is Dervald. So perhaps a name like that would suit him best."
Horse snorted and whinnied softly. "Do not think your name will change now," Skharr assured the beast before he turned his attention to his companion. "Horse is his name."
"I know. I was merely thinking about what name would suit a future horse of mine best. I wouldn't want to name him the same as yours."
Skharr narrowed his eyes, but shook his head and chose not to pursue it. It did appear as though she had picked up on it the last time he had explained his reasoning for naming Horse the way he had, and she was merely trying to push past it. Eitreya would, he knew, continue to talk until he stopped her. But the odd lilt of her accent, along with the musical quality of her voice, made him not want to stop her. She certainly showed no sign of slowing on her own. Horse froze in mid-step. His eyes widened and his ears flattened toward the back of his skull as he looked around the road they currently traversed. The warrior stopped abruptly as well, narrowed his eyes, and tried to peer through the tall grass that surrounded the road. He patted the stallion on the neck and moved cautiously to the back of the saddle. The wagon proceeded at a slow pace ahead of them while he retrieved the sword he had hidden among the saddlebags. What would be best for this situation would be to have his bow ready, but he would have no time to string it once the ambush was sprung.
"Is all good with you back there?"
Eitreya asked and drew her horses to a halt. Skharr did not reply. He was entirely focused on the grass around them until he discerned telltale movements. The would-be ambushers made no effort to cover their approach well, and it seemed their sole intention was simply to make sure that the wagon didn't move forward. They jumped onto the road, and a few tried to grasp Eitreya's horses by their bridles to ensure that they didn't run off. All they accomplished was that they had to back away quickly to avoid being bitten or knocked back when one of the beasts, still attached to the wagon, reared awkwardly in response.
"Ho ho! See our luck here, lads," one of the men shouted. "A lady in need of company falls into our lap. We can help her with that, can't we?"
All five wore ragged clothes.